Hi, and welcome to Enriched Perspective with Mike and Talisha Wallace, where we seek to shift paradigms through the exploration of biblical principles. I'm Mike.
And I'm Talisha. Welcome to the podcast. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy New Year to you, and we hope everything is going well. Today, we're just going to have a random conversation, just kind of talk about some things that's been on our minds and go from there. Happy New Year to you, Mike.
Happy New Year to you as well, Talisha.
Thank you so much. I want to mention that today, this episode actually is our 30th episode.
Woohoo!
Yeah, good job. Congratulations to you.
Dittos.
So we've been doing this for a little over a year now. So I want to personally thank all of our listeners and supporters and those that have come up to us and gave us some good feedback and just saying, hey, we listen. It means a lot to us. And I just wanted to say thank you for listening and really appreciate your support.
Definitely. So we don't get an opportunity to see all of the metrics, but the ones that we do have, which is the number of downloads, I think we've gotten to about over 1,300 downloads.
Woohoo!
So thank you to everyone that has been listening. Definitely, if you have an opportunity, please feel free to reach out. We love feedback. We love to hear what you have to say. If there's anything that we can improve upon, or if there's anything that you would like us to talk about, we would love to hear it.
Oh, yeah. How can they reach us?
I don't know. You know all that information.
Okay, so you can you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and there's not a website, not yet, but email lifeinspiredproductions@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, we definitely welcome that. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Like I
Yeah.
say, it's been a fun. It's been a little bit stressful because definitely we want to put out good content and we
Yeah.
want to make sure we're giving the listeners something that they could think about, something that they can meditate on, something more importantly that would allow them to have a more enriched perspective.
Yeah. So I have my favorites. I have some that I kind of like, oh, I'm glad that was done. But I do have some that I truly enjoy doing. So it's been a blast for me, too. I'm learning and growing, too, just from listening and preparing for it and sharing. So I'm enjoying the experience.
Ditto.
Yeah. So, but today, again, we're just doing some random talk and just different things that's been on our mind. 2021 was an interesting year, but there was some scriptures that I would like to share that kind of helped me get through the year. One of my favorites, I have so many favorites, but most of them were in Psalms. I'm just going to share like 2 or 3. One is found in Psalms 55, and it's verse 22, and it says, cast thy burdens upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. And I love that scripture so much. Whenever you're having a bad day, take it to the Lord and just leave it there and know that he's going to take care of the situation. So that kind of helped me get through just different hard times or tough days. So that was comforting for me. Another one is like just a constant prayer that I always have in my heart when I talk to the Lord. It's found in Psalms 119. And it's chapter 33. It says, teach me, O Lord, the way of thy statutes, and I will keep it until the end. Verse 34, give me understanding, and I shall keep thy law. Yea, I shall observe it with my whole heart. Make me to go in the path of thy commandments, for therein do I delight. And I could keep going on, but I won't. So I found a lot of things that touch my heart that I could connect with in the book of Psalms that just kind of helps in your daily life and different prayers. David was so good at putting his words together. So I love the book of Psalms, just how he talked to the Lord. It's like, I want to get like that. So I pull a lot from there. So that's just a couple that I use to help get through some things in my daily life or just, stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I know but I just highly recommend if you're having a bad day, if you're having a tough time, take it to the Lord. And if you want to know how to live according to the word of God, ask God, he'll show you. And then you can also listen to Enriched Perspectives. We can help. plug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about how 2021 went. Looking forward to seeing what happens in 2022.
Yeah, 2021 was definitely a year of a lot of transitions, a lot of change, a lot of stuff personally and spiritually going on that moved me, at least, to grow, forced me to grow up in a lot of areas and to just take more responsibility and more ownership of my salvation and my faith,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to really relying on others to spoon feed or to kind of do all the heavy lifting, and you just kind of go along for the ride.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Like I say, you can be saved, or you can be in a place for a very long time, but you don't realize like you really are coasting, for lack of
Yeah.
a better way of saying it, because you get so accustomed to, the rudiments and the rituals and just the what do I want to use, the repetitiveness
Mm-hmm.
of what you do,
Yeah.
till you forget some of the little things, and they're not really little, but the things that you should and could be doing that will truly allow you to continue to grow and to continue to mature, in the way that God would have you to. So
Yeah.
that was a lot of 2021. Just taking a step back and really becoming more intentional
Yeah.
in what I do and just the things that I take in, and how do I apply them to my life in general, not just on the spiritual side, but also the natural side, which they should be blending together.
Yeah. That's nice. Like you say, you don't want to just go through the motions, but you're actually being enlightened to, hey, you know what? I can do better in this area. Or I can do better right here. Or I didn't know I was slipping right here. Or you just be coasting along. So that's really good.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to coast. Like I said, you just get used to it. You have things that you do,
Mm-hmm.
and after a while, it just becomes a routine and it becomes a habit. And
Yeah.
that's all it is. It's just something that you intrinsically do, but not a lot of thought is put into it. But just being able to recapture some of the thinking behind the things that I do,
Yeah.
which has been, exciting.
Well, so how about you? What scriptures or what have you been thinking about lately? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I don't do individual scriptures anymore as much as you
See,
do.
you be doing the whole scholarly stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think about concepts and more principles than I do a particular verse.
oh,
That's where a lot of the different topics that we were talking about is more of a concept that I've thought about over the course of the year. I don't know if I had anything that really caught my attention the most throughout the
mm-hmm.
year is really the story of Joseph, which is something I've always kind of gravitated to,
Yeah,
and just getting a better understanding of kind of how that story went and how it goes.
yeah,
Um, Also, like I say, just look at that. Just how you position yourself for
yeah,
success is
yeah.
another big piece.
Mm-hmm.
For me, at least, spending quite a few years going about it what we would call the right way.
Yeah,
Putting your head down, working hard, doing what you're told, those kind of things. But at the same time, it's like kind of missing some of the key elements of what it really takes to be successful, not just naturally, but spiritually as well, like I mentioned.
yeah,
But just really taking a more concerted, or putting forth a more concerted effort into being successful and blending both my natural and my spiritual walk.
yeah.
Of course, for me, I am in a position of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to and learning how to become a better leader, learning, which is something we was talking about the other day, like learning to serve,
Mm-hmm.
instead of looking at it as a means or opportunity to be served. I was
Yeah.
reading a book, I think it was yesterday or the other day, talking about motives by Pat Lencioni,
Mm-hmm.
and it was talking about why do people want to be. He was talking specifically about CEO,
Okay.
how people want to take on the title of a CEO, and they see that as the ultimate prize, and that's the kind of the reward for all of their hard work and for all of their effort and all of their diligence. And they get there and they like the benefits of the role, but they don't really want to do what it takes to fulfill the actual role itself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dirty work involved, a lot of self-sacrifice, a lot of serving more than being served.
Mm-hmm.
When you do it the right way, a lot of tough conversations, a lot of doing things that people just can't do because they don't have the authority, they don't have the position, and
Right.
don't want to do because it makes everybody involved uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and there are tough decisions involved. But really embracing that and wanting to be a better leader,
Yeah.
not just for my own benefit, but really for the benefit of others, and learning how to serve.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about this a little bit in our previous episode about ambitions.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
and it was talking about, like, we got towards the end, we didn't really get too far into it, but
Yeah.
one of the keys to spiritual ambition, if you really want to succeed, if you really want to move higher, if you want to be great, so to speak, if you want to be chief, then you have to learn how to serve,
Right.
and serve with a pure heart, with the right intentions, right motives, and that's not always easy
Yeah.
because we're so accustomed to the way that our culture depicts leaders are the ones that's being served. They're the ones that, have people bringing them a cup of water, say, give a prophet of water, God's water, name a prophet, you receive a prophet reward.
Right.
Everything is about how do we cater to the leaders,
Yeah.
and how do we make their lives easier so they can lead, quote unquote, and direct us. But it's about making them comfortable and making them accommodated,
Right.
as opposed to the leader being the one that's uncomfortable, the leader being the one that's going without, the leader being the one that's kind of taking the front end, or getting one in the front of the battle, taking the arrows for everyone else, and just kind of flipping that paradigm a little bit, especially in corporate.
Yeah.
Like I say, it is a reward for hard work. It is a reward for doing well. It is a reward for demonstrating competency. But at the end of the day, there's greater levels of responsibility, and it's not just to yourself, but it's also to others as well.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about. I was like, well, I was just about to ask you, like, well, if they've done all the hard work, they've done all the hard decisions, they've took all the hits, they're on the front line, shouldn't they get a cup of water? I mean,
Well, yeah, but the reward for doing all that is you getting more.
you must be doing pretty good then.
Yeah, but that's biblical too.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the parable about the talents,
Mm-hmm.
they say they did well with the little that they have, and they got more work. It wasn't that you got less work, or you were given a break or reprieve. It was like, oh, if you could do this, then let's see if you could do some more.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the pruning, and it goes back to kind of the purging of the branches. I think it's the parable about us being the vine, or we being the branches and Jesus being the vine. How we grow fruit, and then he purge the branches so that we could bring forth more fruit. We talk about that 40, 60, 100 fold, or 30, 60, 100 fold. I mean, that comes from, not only producing, but then being sown back into, being tilled again, being planted again, being watered again, so that you can produce even more.
So everybody, we love producers.
Yeah.
Love winners.
Yeah, but we love individual producers, and we love to be, individual producers and individual winners, because it's immediate reward. Like if I do well, as an example, if I knock a project out of the park, if I really kill it, I come in under budget, I come in before time, and I exceed expectations as far as what I was planning to deliver as far as features and functionality, I get a big bonus.
Yeah.
Now, that's for individuals. Okay. When you talk about a leader, okay, I got 5 or 6 different people, or 5 or 6 different teams that deliver an entire product. One of them can do well, and the other one can fall short. And at the end of the day, the entire project fails because we all didn't meet our targets.
Oh, okay.
The individuals, that did well, they can still say, well, I did good, but as a lead of the entire team, I had to take the hit for everybody. I have to be able to, pull up or promote the ones that did well and give them the accolades. But the ones that did bad, I have to be able to cover and also encourage them and help them be able to do better.
So is that the serving part?
That's absolutely the serving part. And I don't get no credit for anything but the failure.
Oh.
If it fails, I get credit. If it goes well, I got to give the credit. And that's something that we're not used to, especially individual contributors. I mean, if it fails, I own it. Because it failed because I did something or didn't do something.
Right.
If it succeed, I own it because I did something or didn't do something. Whereas as a leader, it's like, I didn't do anything per se. My team did it. But if it succeeds, I give them all the credit. If it fails, I take all the blame.
So you're responsible for everybody.
Everybody. The entirety.
So you're serving them, and how's that serving though? I mean, how's that serving? Because you covering them?
I'm covering
supporting
them. I'm supporting them. I'm submitting myself to them, to the work, and to their success. Like I say, my goal is for them to succeed, and I have to do whatever is necessary to help them to do that.
So out the deal, all you get is a cup of water?
Sometimes.
Wow.
But it is my responsibility as a leader to make sure that they're successful. And I have to
Okay.
do whatever is necessary to help them succeed. Sometimes it's finding appropriate training. Sometimes it's finding the right mentors. Sometimes it's putting them on the right projects and the right tasks. I still have to push them. I still have to challenge them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's even firing them. Sometimes the best
Oh.
thing I could do for you as your leader is to fire you and to free you so that you can go find a more aligned opportunity for you.
Wow.
Maybe this isn't the best place for you.
Mm-hmm.
I have to challenge you when you doing things that, may not be work related, but it's still causing conflict. I have to resolve those conflicts. I have to address them.
Wow.
It's a challenge.
Wow.
And when you talk about being a leader, you talking about serving, in that role,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody looks at it as, okay, everybody just do what I say, and whenever I say jump, when I say jump, you jump, whenever I say run, you run. Don't question me. Don't challenge me. And it's like, in all reality, you kind of want them to question you.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to challenge you because you don't know everything.
Oh.
And that's another part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come into leadership, learning that you're not the smartest person in the room, or you don't want to be. Because
Okay.
if you're the smartest person in the room, then you didn't build your team right.
Oh boy. Ooh, watch out now.
Because
Huh.
all reality is what makes you strong is having people that are smarter than you, that are more capable than you, and you put them in the right positions, and you know how to coordinate everything. You know how to keep everybody aligned. You know how to keep everybody moving in the right direction, in the same direction. And this
Mhm.
is both naturally, spiritually, at work, at home. We talk about fathers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, reason why there's so much turmoil in the home is because fathers have that mindset. Like, I'm the one in charge. Everybody
Yeah.
just do what I say.
Mm-hmm.
When I say, but Daddy, what you said was stupid. You'll get knocked.
Oh, you say that within. You don't say
You
that.
don't say that
without.
out loud,
Keep
but
that-
that's what you're thinking. And then you can tell by the look on your wife's face that what you said was real stupid.
Oh
And
Lord.
she's trying to be respectful to you and to show you honor in front of the children so that,
Mhm.
you don't want to be disrespectful. But if we don't have the right mindset as leaders, if we don't have a servant's attitude and heart, if we don't take the biblical approach where if we're going to
Yeah.
be chief, if we're going to be the ones in the front, if we're going to be the ones standing out,
Right.
if we're going to be the man, then we have to be the least. We have to
Wow.
serve. We have to be the one that's last.
Wow.
In this, from the standpoint of we shouldn't be the one that get everything first. I think there was another book that said leaders eat last. I forgot who that was by. I think it was
Mhm.
Simon Sinek. But understanding that as a leader, everybody else is more important than you.
Wow. That sounds like you have to have the right ambition and motives to be a good leader, not just a leader, but
Absolutely.
just be that one that it sounds. You got to be humble.
Absolutely. And
Wow.
and the challenge is usually most people assume that leaders elevate or they get elevated off the back of their, subordinates.
Right.
But in all reality, it should be the other way around. The subordinates are elevated off the back of their leader.
Mm-hmm.
Because the leader is the one pushing them. The leader is the one driving them. The leader is the one challenging them. The leader is the one, while they're doing all those things, they're also promoting them. They're the one
Mhm.
talking them up to other leaders and finding those opportunities where they can shine as individual contributors, or giving them those opportunities where they can expand their capabilities, so that they can get the visibility that they need to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And again, this is everywhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's at church, whether it's at home, whether it's in the business. If you begin to do these things, like I say, you realize that being a leader, like I told you the other day, it sucks sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm like, don't say that.
But it really does. It has a sucky element to it. I'm just speaking
Yeah.
realistically.
I just could not accept that. But then as you kept talking, I was like, oh, okay.
Everybody's critical about everything that you do. Everybody's assuming, that you have the wrong motives, and it takes a long time for you to really gain or, get the heart of the people. And they understand like that you really are coming from a good place, and you really are trying to push them to be better versions
Mhm.
of themselves, not just for the sake of the business, not just for the sake of the family, but for the sake of you as an individual as well.
Mm-hmm.
And those things take time, and it takes a lot of toiling in order for you to get to that point. Now, when you get there, I mean, you can have a great team, you can have a great dynamic,
Mhm.
you can accomplish a lot of great things, but it takes time to get there, and sometimes we're not willing to walk through that journey. Like
Yeah.
2020 to 21 for me was like starting to walk through that journey in a different light.
Yeah.
So I've been leading, for quite a while. I had other responsibilities at different jobs that I've had, and this one that I'm in now, a little bit different. And I've tried to take what I've learned, the mistakes that I made from my other jobs, leading and being immature in my thinking of what it meant to lead, and bringing it over into this space and trying to take it and really now apply the lessons learned, and then also gain some more better lessons, because again, when you talk about leading, it is important. That's what I've been thinking about. It's critical to your point, and it's also a very tedious or touchy environment or touchy kind of place to be in, any space. Like I say, we talk about work, but realistically speaking, at home, leading is another thing that doesn't get dealt with enough. And that's why you have so much turmoil, because young men unfortunately aren't being taught how to be leaders in their home. Young women, on the other hand, are being thrust into the leadership role in the home, and that takes things out of balance. When you look at things today, like I said, you look at it biblically, the Bible talks about the husband is the head of the household, and then the wife, is supposed to be the helpmeet for the husband. But the way that the world is going, and it has gone, because you have so much dysfunction, for lack of a better way of saying it, whether it be having a 2-parent family, but the father is not taking the appropriate, role, he's not setting the appropriate example for the son, whether he's abusive, whether it be physically or whether it be emotionally, or whether he's lazy, and the son taking those
passive.
Cues. He's very passive, and passive and quiet and humble are not the same thing.
No.
Just because I'm humble, just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I'm passive. And just because I'm passive doesn't mean I'm humble and quiet. You got to know the difference between the two. But because you're not getting that appropriate example, or in a lot of cases, you don't have that example. You don't have a father in the home.
That's what I was going to say.
So you're taking all your cues from your mother. And unfortunately, like I said, in a lot of cases, she's working a lot. Because she has to provide, and because she doesn't want you to lack or to suffer lack, she gives you everything. And as a man, I'm speaking as a man, it's not good to give a man everything. It's good, it's necessary to make them work for it, to make them earn it, for them to take on that responsibility, for them to learn how to be accountable, for them to be pushed, to take ownership and be the masters of their own destiny, as opposed to waiting for someone to give it to them. Because you see so many young men waiting for somebody to give it to them, and so many young women who takes their mother's cue and they go at it, they go for it. I mean, they work hard. I mean, they'll work 2-3 jobs. They'll go to college. They'll do whatever they need to do to be successful. And you've seen that kind of just flip. It used to be the man was the one that had that mindset, but now it's the women. And now you bring that into the dynamics of a home, and now you got an interesting mix.
For sure. Then you have to be careful too when you get like this, like you say, the single parent homes, and say the mother has been scorned.
True.
And she'll teach her son how she wanted her man to be, or she'll treat him in a different way. Like, she takes away certain elements that is needed for him to be a man.
Absolutely.
Not saying that he had to be, like aggressive or mean, but just there's a way that she spins what a man should be, because she's mad, or she wants to, create this ideal of the perfect man, in her son, and it just messes up all kinds of stuff, and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how women will raise a man to be either too harsh, or too passive.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I can't get it out like that, but yeah. So just you have to be careful as a single mother. Like, say maybe the man, there's not a male, and like maybe you had a bad divorce, or maybe you had an abusive relationship, or just an absentee father. I think it's important for them to find those mentors, or of what a good man is, so they can have that example, not from a woman's point of view, because I don't know what it's like to be a man. I don't want to be a man. I don't want to. That's
True.
Just me speaking as a woman. Like, I don't know what y'all go through. I don't understand how y'all are seeing how you see through your eyes. So it's important that they get that from a male, as opposed to just do it like this, do it because you mad, or what, just.
Yeah, and the same thing for young women.
Yeah.
Like, say, if you had a single father trying to raise a girl, it behooves him to find a female mentor for her,
Yeah.
because there are just things that we just will not understand. And there's
Right.
things that we would just not be able to relate to and be
Right.
able to walk you through
Mhm.
effectively. We could try, and I'm pretty sure that you would respect and appreciate our effort,
Yeah.
but there still be things that are missing.
Mhm.
And I understand people say that you can get everything, but the reality is you
Yeah.
need both sides. You
Yeah.
need the male perspective,
Mhm.
you need the female perspective,
Yeah.
and that's biblical. That's what God. That's how God created us.
Right.
He created us male and female. He
Yeah.
created husband and wife.
Yeah.
When you have a female and a female, it's off balance. When you have a male
Mhm.
and a male, it's off balance.
Right.
It is not going to work. I don't care
Right.
how hard we try. I don't care how we try to, fix it and try to re-explain it and try to, change and reassign the roles. But at the end of the day, what was written is written, and God did it that way for a purpose.
Yeah.
Like you look at Genesis, the 2nd chapter, and it talks about He made woman for man. He
Mhm.
said it's not good for man to be alone.
Mhm.
He said, I will make him a helpmeet.
Right.
Every animal, every beast that was created had someone after his kind. So not only could they procreate, but they had somebody that they could relate to,
Right.
and somebody that was not the same as them.
Exactly.
But man was by himself. Man was
Mhm.
alone. And God took woman out of man.
Mhm.
Now, nowadays, man is made by the woman, of course, because women are the ones that have the children. Speaking of sidebar, I saw this thing where this person tried to. It's so bizarro world these days. It's a woman
Wow.
who had a gender reassignment, so to speak, but she didn't take away all her woman parts. Got pregnant by another dude. And then got mad because they said it was a woman that got pregnant because she wanted to be called a man.
Wow. Wow. Really?
But this is the times in which we live, and this is
Wow.
the deception in which we live in, where there is no clear
Mhm.
view of what it is to be a man, what it means to be a woman. Everything is so mixed and so
perverted.
perverted and polluted.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, and we're trying to teach our children. You're trying to help your children understand what it means to be a male, what it means to be a female, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman.
Mhm.
And when you're fighting against a lot of different voices and a lot of different
Spirits.
influences and spirits in this world today.
Mhm.
In the past, it was kind of behind closed doors, in the
Right.
background,
Yeah.
wasn't really pushed or promoted.
Mhm.
Nowadays, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's a small community, but it's a very, 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 very loud voice.
Mhm.
And when you talk about leadership, when you talk about the dynamics of the home, we talk about the roles in the home, you say having to go back to the Bible
Yes.
and really understand what the Bible says about all this is so crucial.
Mhm.
Like I said, we look at leadership everywhere else. Like I was saying, like for me, leadership at work, leadership
Mhm.
in the church community. But when you come back down to where it really matters the most, which is
That's-
at the home,
That's where everything
It's like-
starts.
but that's where it's so messed up. That's
Yeah,
where it's
it's-
so out of sorts.
Mhm.
Like I say, you have women taking on the role of husband,
See.
and they want to be husband. I've heard that before too.
Oh wow.
And you say, well, that's just in the homosexual community. It's in the heterosexual community as well, where you have women taking on the role of husband and
Right.
husbands taking on the role of wife.
Mm.
And it's unfortunate, and it's not because she works. It's not because he stays at home. There's more involved in that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
It's who is truly the head of household, who
Mhm.
is the one that's leading, who is the one that's protecting, who is the one
Right.
that's guiding. That's what the man is supposed to do. That is his responsibility as husband.
Right.
And it's funny how, again, I'm talking a lot, but it's funny how when women get into situations where they feel vulnerable or they feel less than or inadequate,
Mhm.
then they turn to, you're supposed to be the man. It's like, but you've been taking over my role for the last, I don't know how long, and now you
Mhm.
want me to just jump back into it, like Superman and take over and make everything right. And then when it gets right again, get back, I got it now.
Mhm.
It's like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And we have to allow each other to be who we're supposed to be.
Right.
Like husbands have to be allowed. And you say, you ain't got to allow me to do nothing. Yes, she does. Because that's what submission is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm allowing you to lead me. Just
There
in
you
case
go.
you was wondering.
There you go.
Because I can tell you right now, if she don't want you to lead her, you ain't.
That's true.
You supposed to obey me. You supposed to respect me. Good luck with that, bro. If she doesn't submit herself to you, you ain't getting none of that.
Mm-hmm.
You both have to submit one to another. And you both have to be willing to work with each other,
Yeah.
understanding both of your roles and your responsibilities within the home. Who cooks and cleans? Who cares?
Right.
You know, who washes the dishes? Who cares? Who does it? Who cares? But there's still order.
Yeah.
There's still a role that must be
Mm-hmm.
played.
Right.
And it must be, what's the word? Inhabited
Mm-hmm.
by the husband and by the wife.
Right. That's true.
No matter how we try, it's like we can't get around
Yeah,
it.
God
And
set that up in the beginning.
he
He had
said
that all
he
in
had that
place.
order.
And the reason, like you say, it's out of order is because the enemy comes in and tries to
Mhm.
pervert the word of God. You don't have to do it that way. Don't you? God don't want you. You can do whatever you want to do, and it'll all work out.
I
Like,
say no, it won't.
and you see where all the kinks and cracks start happening, and then it's a big old mess. And you're like, well, then you try to point at God. No, you're out of the word of God. You chose to reject the Lord's commandments and
And his instruction,
his order, and then you want him to bless your mess.
and it ain't gonna happen. And again, especially in our community at times, like the things that we use to help or define how order or the pecking order of the home is income.
Mm.
And that's not good, because again, it
Right.
goes back to that ambition thing.
Yeah.
Why are you so ambitious? Well, I don't want nobody to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I want to be the one in charge.
Yeah.
If I make the most, then I have the loudest voice, and that's not
Mhm.
the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
Like I say, at the end of the day, as a husband, I'm talking as a husband,
Mm-hmm.
I have the heavy responsibility, and it's not fun, of making the final decision and owning it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned before, if it goes well, I give credit to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But if it goes bad, that's on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Like if we make a bad deal, even if I got my wife's consent, and even if she was 100% with me, at the end of the day, we both know that it was our decision.
Mm-hmm.
But outside the home, if somebody gonna talk about somebody, they're gonna talk about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you're not gonna talk about my wife. You're not gonna push her down, or you're not gonna speak ill of her. You're not gonna say nothing negative about her. It was my decision. I own that.
But then wives supporting will be like, you're not gonna talk about my husband.
Exactly.
We came to this together. You're not
Exactly.
gonna, so if that balances, if you're unified, I should say,
Absolutely.
if we're one as God wants us to be, we have each other's backs.
Yep. And because you trust me, like I said, there are those
Yeah.
times where we might not come to a full agreement,
Yeah.
but because of the trust that I've gained from you over time, working with you,
Mm-hmm.
making good decisions, you being able to see that I have the best interest of the family at heart, you submit, or you relinquish, your decision, and say, well, I don't know, I'm not 100% comfortable, but I trust you.
Yeah.
I'll go with what you say.
Because I'm trusting that you are trusting God.
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, I'll put my trust in you because I'm trusting that you talking to the Lord and you're
Mhm.
going to do what he tell you to do,
And if there is a disagreement, I have to be humble enough as husband to be able to take a step back, listen,
Yeah.
and intent, and not become a brawler, or not become like
Mhm.
domineering and say, who's going to do it my way or else. Because you got to remember, everybody is impacted.
Mm-hmm.
It is your responsibility as the leader of the household to gain alignment.
Mm-hmm.
You are responsible for making sure that there's alignment from the top all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And a lot of times where we run into problems is there is such a great misalignment in the household. We was talking about ambition,
Yeah.
but there's so many other things beyond ambition that are misaligned.
Right.
And you got the husband going in one direction,
Mhm.
thinking that everybody just following him. And then you got the wife, on the other hand, going in a completely different direction. And because
Yeah.
she has control, like over the children, and because she has the influence, they're listening to her voice.
Yeah.
And you might have one or two that might be gravitating to daddy, and you got one or two gravitating to
Yeah.
mama, and now you got confusion and you got
War.
dysfunction in the home because they not listening to mama because she's saying what daddy didn't say, and vice versa.
And then they'll start playing in between the two of you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But like this is just random conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just stuff I've been thinking about because again, I'm getting towards the tail end of all of this. The parenting part for sure.
Yeah.
but still have marriage to work through and continue
Mhm.
to build on, like going through a different phase of our marriage. But having been through it for so long, having seen so many things, having experienced some stuff myself and learned. Like I
Mhm.
said, I'm thankful for the family that I grew up in. I'm thankful for the teaching. I'm
Mhm.
thankful for the example that my dad set for me.
Mhm.
Like I say, because if I didn't have that, I would have been a little bit of a mess, because you just got your own ideas, you got your own thoughts, and I know my personality. So
Mhm.
I needed that example in front of me. I needed someone showing me how to be humble, showing me how to, not be so, how to not be a brawler, but really
Yeah.
have a meek spirit, be meek and be humble. And again, not soft, not passive, but just knowing when
Yeah.
to step in, knowing when to pick your moments, pick your battles. Everything ain't worth fighting for. Letting some things go.
Mhm.
Taking the backseat sometimes. Which again, those are things that as a man, if you don't have a male example, sometimes those things are hard to grasp, because that's
Yeah.
not what you're being taught
Yeah.
typically.
Yeah.
You like, no, I own everything, and whatever I say go, you're gonna do what I say or else. And that's where you
Mhm.
get into these abusive relationships.
Yeah.
They think that they control everything,
Yeah.
and that's not your responsibility. That's
Right.
not your role as husband.
Yeah. That's so true. So I'm grateful for all the examples I had of being a wife as well. With my mom, watching her, and just other people, other women in church, other family members, how they were with their spouses. Every marriage is going to be different because everybody's different.
True.
But just learning the basic stuff, where to be, what's the word, cooperative, and learning to yield and mold to your marriage, your spouse, how to work with him. Just having that type of spirit goes a long way, as opposed to just, well, this rule, do this, check. But no, just really getting to know your spouse, how we work, what we want. Like having, like you said, the ambition, like, okay, we both want this, and we're going to work together, not against each other, to get where we're trying to go. So just having that spirit of humility, as you said, wanting to work together, loving each other enough to take down sometimes, say, okay, we're gonna go that whatever you want, or I feel this way. We support each other and listen to each other, and make a decision. So those things really do have a huge impact on how your marriage will go.
Yeah. Like we were talking the other day, like we were really talking about like a woman's place.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of where a lot of this stemmed from.
Mhm.
Just kind of around that conversation about what that looks like and what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I know a woman's place has a very negative connotation associated with it.
Right.
And we were talking about, like, of course, single versus married
Mhm.
versus saint. And sometimes they try to take the married place and kind of put it across everything.
Yeah.
But a single woman does not have the same role as a married woman.
No.
And of course, as a saint, again, when it comes down to gender, God said that we're all even.
Right.
Like he says, neither male nor female nor Jew nor Greek. And a
Mhm.
lot of the different things that were brought forward were as it related to the family dynamics. How should a husband be with his wife? How should a wife be with her husband? Even the one where it's talking about submission, it was talking about, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands. And then he was talking about above that, submitting ourselves one towards another. I think that was another chapter.
Mhm.
But it was really concerned with the dynamics of the family.
Right.
And it was very particular about, what was the responsibilities and what was the actions or the attitude that a wife was supposed to have, a husband was supposed to have, children were supposed to have.
Right.
But when it came down to single people, you didn't say a ton.
I
Because
think you can have more time for God, more time for.
that's really about all it said.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything like, she need to submit to every man.
Oh no, it says own husbands, wives to
Exactly.
your own husbands.
So if you're married,
Mhm.
that's one thing. And even for a husband, if you're married, it's another world. It's another arena for you. When
Yeah.
you're single, yeah, you have the ability to make, individual or independent decisions. You can do
Mhm.
whatever you want to do, because again, it's just you. If you
Right.
want to go to college, if you want to commit yourself to a particular craft or
Yep.
whatever it is that you desire. And that's why Paul, like you were saying, he was talking about like to the ministry and different things. That's why he valued singlehood, because it
Yeah.
did give you a lot more freedom and flexibility
Yeah.
for both the male and the female.
Yep.
Now the problem is you want to get some. I mean,
Yep. Go to that episode. It's the episode we talked about
right.
that. Talking about why do you get married, or
So
why would I?
so that comes into play, or you don't want to be alone, but still you want to get some because you can have friends.
Oh, Lord.
But anyways, that's a whole nother episode that we had already.
We talked about that.
But because of that, you marry.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you enter into marriage, again, it's a different dynamic. But as a single individual, you have independence.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever you want to do. You
Yeah.
don't have to ask nobody. If
Your
you ask,
time is your time. Your
is
money.
your money, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you come into marriage, you're no longer independent. You are dependent. And I think it was a scripture in 1 Corinthians.
Yeah.
The Niv version of it says, what does it say? Nevertheless, in the Lord, woman is not independent of man, nor is man independent of woman. Now, it's funny how I say in the Lord, because you look at it sometimes outside of God, like say in the world and in the culture today, like we had mentioned before, there's great independence, even though you have supposedly a codependent relationship.
Right.
Where husband, wife, twain shall now become one flesh, not just in the bedroom, but you're supposed to be becoming one in everything.
Right.
That's why you take on his name.
Mm-hmm.
Now you come under his protection, his guidance, and now you have offspring together. Now
Right.
you are tethered. But because of the way that the world works, like I say, it's just a agreement. Like I say, we'll come together. We'll do what we do. I'm gonna do my thing. You do your thing, and we'll have very light overlap.
Yeah.
And it's something that's very pervasive because it makes sense to the world because you both coming from independent situations where you're doing your own thing.
Yeah.
And you don't want to stop the momentum of what you're doing.
Yeah. And marriage is honorable.
It's honorable, but again, you don't want to stop the momentum of what you're doing.
Is that how you say that?
No, it's not.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that how you say that for real?
Momentum.
Okay.
I do know how to say it properly.
Because I'm like,
not the John Witherspoon. Anyways.
oh Lord.
But you don't want to stop what you're doing. He doesn't want to stop what he's doing. And now you're coming together and you're combining.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is you both can't continue at the exact same pace you've always ran at.
Yeah.
Not right away. You're going to have to slow down in some cases, most cases, all cases, to speed up.
Yeah.
Because there is an alignment that has to occur. And a lot of it is around role. What am I supposed to do? What is she supposed to do? Who's going to, not do this or not do that? Who we going to push? Who's going to take the back seat? Are we both going to be on because you both can't hold the wheel at the same time.
No.
It's not, somebody has to drive. So who's going to drive? All these questions after you get out of that, you're satisfied and you're no longer burning.
Right.
Now reality is setting in and now you got to figure out how to actually cohabitate.
Yeah.
And now you're learning that I cannot, hopefully you're learning that I cannot any longer be independent. I can't do things independently. Now I have someone else I really do have to consider.
Right. And hopefully you were pulling all these examples and information as you were being raised.
Hopefully there's good information and there's good examples.
Yeah. And then before you get married, have these conversations. But I suppose when you in that moment, you ain't really thinking too serious.
Yeah, but everybody thinking about now, these are the things. What's your credit score? How much debt do you have?
Yeah.
What do you make? What's your annual earnings? What's your 401k? All that stuff is like, okay, so what if I have $1 million? What if I have a 700 plus or 800 credit score, but I'm I ain't gonna say it. But I can't, I'm unagreeable. I can't, I don't work well with people. I'm mean.
I wouldn't marry him then.
Well, you don't know all that because you ain't really asked. Because I'm buying you nice things and I'm taking you out to eat. We ain't really got to the meat of the matter. I don't know your personality per se. I know your bank account. I know your credit score. I know your financial health and I know your potential from a financial standpoint. But I don't know you. And when we talk about how the world does it, if you add sex into the mix, that just makes it even more complicated, because now you off in a whole nother space and you get lost in this, this fantasy land of dating.
Oh, Lord.
And then when you get married, that's why I don't like marriage, because that's the reality.
Yeah.
Now you really got to, how do I work with this person? How do I live with them? Okay, the money was good, but I didn't know he worked like 5,000 hours a week.
Oh, well, exactly.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that he was a miser.
Oh, that, yeah.
He's a penny pincher.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, a lot of things you didn't know because you wasn't asking the right questions.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was, women don't like men that are not aggressive. He's kind of passive.
Mm-hmm.
He's passive aggressive, so to speak.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was just letting me get my way because he liked me, but now that we in it, now he has a strong opinion and he's not as mendable as I thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
He chauvinist.
Trap me.
Right. Well, he didn't trap you. He just didn't ask the right questions. And vice versa. I didn't know she was a Hellcat.
Like, what?
Where'd
that come from?
Yeah.
It was there all the time, baby.
Like I said, I wanted somebody, and again, this is where we talk about, I wanted somebody to cook and clean, but
Right. She might not be so,
sanitary.
But
with the sanitary, like I said, it's one of those things where you don't always know everything about the person. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned before, it ain't the cooking and the cleaning and ironing, because quite frankly, I can do all that. Personally, I can do that stuff myself.
Right.
But it's those other key attributes when it comes down to marriage.
Yeah.
We mentioned like the 3 S's, like you talk about support, you talk about serving, and you talk about submitting.
Yeah.
Like those things are the things that really are, in my opinion, very necessary ingredients for you to have a healthy, happy, wholesome relationship.
Yeah.
Because again,
For sure.
men can cook, men can clean,
Yeah.
and if that's the only thing that you see as your role and your responsibility, you might be at a loss.
Yeah.
For
sure.
And I think it's limiting for you to assume that that's all she's good for.
Yeah.
Because again, yes, the woman is the weaker vessel, but that's only related to physical strength.
Yeah.
When it comes down to intelligence, I don't think women in any way, shape, or form, is behind men at all. I know some extremely intelligent women.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, highly intelligent. And I know some very ignorant men.
Yeah.
Very ignorant.
And we also don't want to miss the point for men. Y'all just not paychecks and a pair of hands.
Exactly.
That's not fair.
Nope, because we have that same thing. We have the supporting, the serving, and the submitting that we're responsible for doing at a different level. Like I say, part of that supporting and serving is with the providing provisions that we, bring into the household. But there's so many other things that we should be doing to support, our wives and support our children, and to be of service, to our family and our household. Like I say, that's just a portion of it. But again, being there, being present, making sure that you're not just existing. You actually are engaged. You are involved. You're plugged in. To the raising of your children is not just your wife's responsibility, but it really is yours as well. Same way with the wives. Like I say, it's not just the husband's responsibility to provide. And what I mean by that is, okay, some women do work outside the home.
Right.
And in those cases, what you have should be just as much a part of what comes in and should be a part of the overall revenue as his is. But a lot of times what's acceptable is that a woman has her money and then the man, his money goes into the household. And I just personally don't agree with that.
Yes.
My wife is smiling at me real hard because I'm finna go into the landmine a little bit.
Like, let me hold my breath on this one.
But in my opinion, my opinion is that, like I said, if I'm working, I'm bringing in everything that I have, which I should as a husband, into the household, and it's being used for the betterment, for the elevation, and for the advancement of us. Why is it okay for you to go get a job and just go blow your money doing whatever you want to do?
Well, you know what they say. Your money is my money. My money is my.
Well,
I've heard that before. Like, oh, really?
I don't. I just do not agree with that because.
Tell me more.
Again, you're over that.
How do I do that again?
It's just not fair. It's like if I can't, I shouldn't. Now I understand in some cases where there are men that's taking their money and they go and they do whatever they want to do first, and then they bring the rest to that. That's wrong to me. That's extremely wrong. That's not how I was raised.
Right. Or maybe they just don't. They're not really good with money.
Well, that too. They maybe not good with money, but that's where again you have a helpmeet. And hopefully you both aren't bad with money.
Ooh.
But if you are, then you go and you seek help.
That's right.
Again, you both recognize that we don't do too good in this space, so we need to find something that would allow us to do better because we see it's impacting. And that's where I believe the husband's responsibility as the overseer of the household comes in. It's like if you see you're not doing well, if you see that's not her capability as well, is your responsibility to go find some way to help develop, like I was talking about leaders, to develop the skill set that you need so that you can be successful.
Right.
It doesn't make sense for you to continue because you're prideful in that way because you're hurting the family. And you don't want to do anything to hurt the family. You want to do whatever you can to help bring the family forward. I know there are some people that, the husband does everything as far as finances or the wife.
Yeah.
And I don't like that because again, if something happens to the husband or the wife, as you've seen,
I've seen it.
Like I say, they don't know how to manage. And now I left you at a disadvantage. I left you weaker.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't want to do that. If I'm here or if I'm not here, I want you to be able to sustain life or to be able to move forward. As sucky as it is.
Yeah.
But the reality is you need to be able to move forward with me or without me. And that's as a leader, again, that's one of those things. It's tough because, again, I might lose a great employee, but that might be the best thing for them as they continue to grow and develop. But in this case, I'm talking about if somebody passes away or if someone gets sick, you have to take on that other responsibility that you might not be as familiar with.
Yeah.
But that's where, as a leader, husband, you're supposed to be trying to, if you have it, instill it. If you don't have it, go find somebody where you both can get it. And if she has it, ask her to teach you.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Or she may be able to help you.
Absolutely. And it's not wise always to just, and they say, give her the money. It's like, that ain't wise if she don't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If he doesn't know what he's doing, it's not wise for him. And that's where that working together, submitting one to another, supporting each other, serving each other. Sometimes you have to just be honest with yourself. I suck.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. If you want to, like you say, move forward in advance, you don't want me doing this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had that.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, I'm supposed to do what with what and when by what way. But once you say, okay, this is what we're going to do, it's smooth sailing.
Yeah, that was my responsibility.
Yeah.
I was trying to at first, I'm just going to give it to you and let you figure it out.
Because that's what, bring the check home, man, bring the check home. Like, you better check on that check. Please. You be like, where's all the rent money? Where the light bill? Where? We bought the food and gas. And like, no.
Right. This ain't working.
Something ain't right. So, hey, I like that. That's so true.
But again, and that's where those roles, like I say, you have to know what works. Like I say, you might have, children, and like I say, husband may be the better cook. Yeah. But you got to understand, he can't go to work and cook. So you have to find a balance there. Yeah. If you're not working, okay, get some lessons, learn how to cook. Ask him to teach you how to cook. And it ain't because you the wife, it's because you're there.
Yeah.
And you don't want to overload any one person. If it was the other way around, if you both were working, then it probably makes sense for you to share the burden of cooking, share the burden of washing and ironing or whatever it takes to run the household.
Yeah.
Like, I always laugh at you, like, look, say you clean, not because you want me to have a clean house, but you don't like a dirty house. No. So you ain't necessarily cleaning for me.
And I'm not the greatest cook, but I cook because I know you have to eat. But it's not like I had this gourmet idea. I got to have the best pots and pans. Like, just cook something so we don't starve.
But then you look at me. I'm not a person that's like a foodie.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get me.
But you like good food, though.
Yeah, but you ain't going to get me because you can cook.
Right.
Because I'm not going to eat that much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thick, but I earned that over time.
Okay. That's the Mountain Dews.
Well, whatever. Don't be putting our business out
I'm
the
just
streets.
saying,
Anyways, we're going to move on from that.
Next topic.
Right. try to cook for me wouldn't be a way to get my attention or to cause me to endear yourself to me.
Mm-hmm.
But there may be other things, and that's where you have to know your companion. You have to take the time to understand them. Like as a
Yeah.
husband, the Bible tells us that we're supposed to dwell with our wives according to knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, meaning we take the time, get to know them, figure it out what it is that they need from you,
Yeah.
provide it.
Yeah.
And same way around. And like I say,
We-
take the time, get to know him, figure out what he needs from you,
Yeah.
provide it, help meet.
Meat. That was gonna say that's
Like I
But a
said,
help
because we
meet
don't
is-
have everything. I don't care how smart you are, you got gaps.
yep. And it was more than just having babies.
It's way more than having babies, which is
Yeah.
another thing we was talking about the other day. We're both transitioning out of, like I mentioned earlier, the baby or the children raising phase.
Yeah.
Our kids are much older. You know, we only have 2 that are really in high school. One's about to graduate here.
Mm-hmm.
And we were both talking about the switching of the roles.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about going away from, being responsible for raising them and getting them from point A to point B because they're all about to be driving.
Mm-hmm.
They got their own jobs, so you ain't, they go get the food, and they got so many, deliveries. I'm like, man, who is it for today?
Right. The doorbell ring.
Between Amazon and Marcos, I mean, we
DoorDash.
DoorDash,
Like, what in
ain't
the
no
world?
way. So they're pretty self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And now, like I said, you don't have that role or responsibility of rearing them in the same fashion that you did before.
Yeah.
Neither do I. Like I
Right.
say, I was taking them here and there to their different games and sporting events and being in the stands and going to the YMCA with them, spending time outside with them, working through their homework and all this other stuff. And it just like swiftly came to an end.
Yeah.
And now
So-
you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I do next?
Yeah. That's where I am now, and it's like it's exciting, but it's also scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that, again, as you grow older together, and as you've
Mhm.
been working together, as you've been serving, submitting, supporting one another, you can have those conversations and you can see as we move into this next phase of life, now what is the need?
Yeah.
And based on the new need and based on the new normal, which we're going into, now we adjust.
But it's like when you say the need, you mean like the need of the children or the need of us for each other, or just overall?
Overall. Because
Yeah.
there's a need between us that's always been there, and you can serve it in one capacity.
Yeah.
And with the children in there, that adds complexity to it because we have to include them in that conversation, and they're a bigger part of that conversation. But now that as we get to the second phase of life where they're no longer a significant part of that conversation,
Yeah, that's a big chunk.
but now
for
we
years.
become, me
Yeah.
and you become the bigger part of the conversation. Like, how will we serve one another?
Yeah.
How will we support one another? How will we continue to submit to one another as we go into this next phase?
Yeah. I'm telling you, we are at a very interesting time in our lives. It's like, what
Yep.
is happening?
And it's fun, it's scary, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Most people go through this phase at the front end of their marriage, and we're
Yeah.
going into it at the kind of the tail end with a
Yeah.
lot of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, there's a lot of ignorance because
Right.
we didn't have a long time to be just me and you.
Right.
But
So you just jumped into it like, okay, let's go.
yeah,
And now we coming out the tunnel. It's
into another tunnel.
Into another tunnel. So now I was like, okay, Lord, now what? What do we do now? So just once again, like you say, being pliable to be
Yep.
molded into what's next. Okay. And just being flexible. Okay, now okay, Lord, here we go.
And again, we got the scriptures that Talisha had spoken at the beginning, talking about
yeah.
like the ones she used for how she got through the year. Of course,
Mhm.
me talking about leading.
Yeah.
Because that's been definitely a big portion of my year,
And that's-
learning how to lead better.
But you are the leader of this household.
Yeah, but just,
So-
again, learn how to do that better, how to be a better example, and how to take the opportunities that I have in front of me and really maximize them.
Yeah.
And we talked about homes, the roles and
Mhm.
things like that, submitting one to another, serving, supporting, just being open to learning and
Mhm.
understanding that we all need to continue to learn and to
Yeah.
grow. Understanding that biblically there are roles
Mhm.
that the male has, the husband has,
Right.
that the woman has, that the wife has,
Yeah.
and we can't get around it.
And it's not like something to look down on somebody. It's
No.
not like I don't know what the word is, but like like a lower class, like
No, a
you're-
woman is not a lower class citizen.
yeah,
She's
like
not the lesser.
subservient. Yeah, like all that.
No.
So
But at the same time, women are not the greater either, which
Yeah.
is another thing that the society tries to push. And it's at the expense of men.
yeah, well, I think too is because of how bad women were being treated. So they're trying to climb up out of that,
I get that.
all that. So that's probably where a lot of that is coming from.
I
But
get
it
that.
may have just
Went too
went
far.
yeah, to where it's like we don't need men. Like, wait, hold on now. Yeah,
Again, it's kind of funny, and we're going to close on this, but women didn't learn the lessons from watching men. Like, you see how stupid we acted and some of the dumb things that we did and the ways in which we behaved. And instead of correcting and doing better, they just do the same thing.
Well, that's our time. Thank you so much for listening. We hope this episode has further enriched your perspective.
Until next time, I'm Mike.
And I'm Talisha.
God bless.